So Michael Chandler's cope has reached an all-time low. During a podcast appearance yesterday, he made a lot of excuses and even delusional claims about his loss to Charles Oliveira this past Saturday. He's already known for an insane amount of cope, but I think this has reached a new level. Leading up to UFC 309, he was making a lot of cope-worthy claims and saying some crazy things. And I did a video saying Michael Chandler's cope is out of control last week. Now, I think it's reached a different level than it's ever been because I really feel like he's been exposed as one of the dirtiest fighters and fakest fighters in MMA right now. He tries to hide it behind the nice guy act, but he's an extreme hypocrite. And if you listen to his interviews, he goes back and forth on a pretty damn consistent basis. And I'd say at this point, he's a total fraud. Now, on today's video, I'm going to react to some of the key clips and disprove some of Chandler's statements and quiet down the cope. So we're going to get into things. Be prepared. Michael Chandler cope incoming. First up, it's Michael Chandler talking about round one against Charles Oliveira. And this one got to me. Off the bat, he said he let Oliveira win the first round. Let's listen in.
Okay, saying for the first time in my life, I conceded a round. I let him stay on. I let him stay on top, and I let him win the round because I had 20 more minutes to fight.
He let him win the round. Michael Chandler was in a fairly competitive scramble where his leg was tangled and whatnot, but he was on his back getting controlled by Charles Oliveira. He's now having the audacity, following a loss and losing a massive portion of the fight. He has the audacity to say, I gave him the first round. I didn't try to get back up. I wasn't trying to win. I said, hey, take this first round from me. I'll let you put me in this spot. Or was the reality that Michael Chandler knew dealing with a guy as dangerous as Charles Oliveira on the ground, if he tries to scramble up to his feet, his back could be taken in round one while they're dry, and he could be choked out. Pretty real point would be he's in a dangerous spot being on the ground with Charles Oliveira early in a fight without a lot of sweat, and that's why he didn't try to escape the position. So, in a sense, he conceded round one, but he didn't let Charles Oliveira win the round. Oliveira put him in the position, and Charles Oliveira beat him in the round. He was worried about getting finished, so he was unable to do anything from that awkward bottom reverse half guard position. But to say that you let Charles Oliveira win the round, you didn't let him win anything. He won that round, Michael Chandler. Stop it. Stop it, Michael Chandler. Starting off with insane cope and delusion off the bat. Now, next clip, he claims that Charles Oliveira didn't hit him with any elbows, and the commentary was simply just glazing Charles Oliveira. Let's get to it, and let's play it.
You know, I went back and watched the fight, and Joe and like the commentators, like those elbows he landed, he didn't land one elbow on me whatsoever.
He didn't land one elbow? He cut Michael Chandler with an elbow on his forehead. You can still see the scratch from the cut. Now, was it one of the nastiest cuts of all time? No. Were they the most terrifying elbows ever? No. But he got elbowed on the face plenty of times, and I went back and rewatched some of the elbows to make sure. You could hear the sound of the elbows landing. Now, the angle wasn't perfect, that it was like the most clean elbow ever, but there was definitely force landing, and elbows were getting through. Don't tell me he didn't land an elbow on you, Michael Chandler. Give Charles Oliveira some credit for beating you up with ground and pound, for putting you in a bad position in round one, controlling you and winning that round. Instead of just giving Oliveira his flowers, he consistently makes up excuses for why things went wrong. And he even decides to say, yeah, the commentary was overhyping those elbows. They didn't hit me. He didn't hit you with one elbow is such a lie. A few more seconds. Let's listen to with this clip.
All looked like they landed, but they all glanced off my arm or glanced off like the side of my head. And I remember laying in there, like he threw one. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. That was good.
He thanks Jesus. That's the Michael Chandler act. Michael Chandler, he wins a lot of the religious fans over with the Christian nice guy act. I'm telling you guys, I said this in last week's video with his coat being out of control, that he is going to be an amazing motivational speaker for people that need that self-help following fighting. Because I'm telling you, Michael Chandler has the BS motivation scam down to a science, and he's going to make more money following fighting doing this. I'm telling you, he's going to release a book. He's going to be doing seminars. You're going to be able to join Michael Chandler's self-help group. He's already got a plan. He's setting it all up. Holy smokes. Absolute lie. And a lot of people fall into the crap. A lot of people fall into it because Chandler comes off as a nice guy. He seems nice. I'm sure Michael Chandler would be nice to have dinner with, but most of the time it would be self-help and picking yourself up from your bootstraps and getting back up to your feet. And, you know, he'll tell you a story about how hard he had to dig to pull out success. But the truth is, Michael Chandler makes tons of excuses. He's the type of guy that says, I don't make excuses. Things just went wrong because I was hurt before the fight. In this next clip, he said that he got injured early in the fight. And he didn't want to totally claim that's why he lost the fight, but he alluded to this injury early on being a pretty big reason that things went, you know, slightly sideways, all right? Let's listen to this clip.
Until I get an MRI. Oh. But yeah, so I think something happened to the knee in that first exchange where he had the leg and I did like a full 360. He did like...
Maybe it's true that he hurt his knee early, but he's using this as reasonings for why the fight kind of went a little sideways, but he also conceded the first round. So you let him win the first round, but he hurt you. He hurt your knee in the first round. Which one is it, Michael Chandler?
Like a little knee bar thing, because I walked back to the stool and I looked down at my left leg and it was not working right. It wasn't stepping, it wasn't catching, it was unstable, it was weird. And then
so things went sideways because he got injured in the first round. That's what Michael Chandler's going to sell us. I hate to hear it because it's like, oh, an awkward scramble put me there. Or if he would have said, yo, Oliveira ripped my knee up in round one, the way he had my knee locked in that position, it tore it. It tore me up, but I dogged through and I kept fighting, and Oliveira was just that guy. I'd respect him more. For the aura and, you know, persona that he pushes, I mean, it's going to go over some people's head, but for the people that really listen to what he's saying, they're going to be like, Chandler, man, can you give Oliveira some damn respect for once? Because he doesn't. Like, you can say he does. Like, he lied at the press conference, too. When he was asked about the narrative that he had pushed as Oliveira's a quitter, he said, I 100% push back against that. No, you didn't, bro. You went on Ariel Helwani's show leading up to that fight, and Helwani brought up that quitter thing, and you said, I'm not going to call him a quitter, but yeah. So you called him a quitter without saying the words he's a quitter. Constant hypocrisy from our boy Michael Chandler. Now, the next clip, we're going to listen to him talk about that he was actually hurt leading into the fight. He took 2 years off, but he's been dealing with a knee injury for 2 years. Let's hear it.
Feel before the fight.
The right knee had some stuff going on in it. I think we're going to get that cleaned up for sure. But I've had that for like 2 years.
Why not during the 2 years off then get it healed up? Why mention it after your fight against Charles Oliveira where you lost? Is it an attempt to say, bro, that wasn't even me at 100%? He's been talking about Michael Chandler 2.0 constantly, but now he was injured leading up to UFC 309, and he's still in the title picture. That's why he couldn't get past Oliveira. Come on, man. But it gets worse. It doesn't get better. You would hope that, okay, he would be more humble and he would say nicer things about Charles Oliveira, but I promise you, this video is going to get more infuriating as you go. If you're a Charles Oliveira fan, or if you're just a fan of fighters that, you know, admit when somebody had their number, you're going to get frustrated. Because this next clip is just a blatant lie. It's about the exchange in the 5th round where Charles Oliveira had, Charles Oliveira had been hurt. Michael Chandler had hurt Charles Oliveira. But the shots that were landed were 1,000% illegal strikes to the back of the head. Instead of acknowledging and saying, yeah, a few of them might have touched the back of the head, but listen, that's the ref's job. I wasn't trying to be malicious. Instead, he says, no, they were to the side of the head. He doubles down. Let's listen to this. Then I have a clip from the fight. I got images from the fight to disprove them. Let's watch.
Took like 15 shots to the ear, like 15. And I was like, is this you gonna step in, dude?
Wait, what do you think? Are you thinking?
What? He's talking about the ref should have stopped the fight. And we got more clips where he's actually going to stand on business and say, yeah, the ref should have stopped it. A different ref might have stopped it. Michael Chandler, this is not true. I literally have pictures from this. Okay, look. This is Chandler loading up, and you're going to see Michael Chandler landing to the back of the head. Boom. Back of the head shot. I counted about 19 strikes to the back of the head in this 5th round exchange. These are some of the significant ones. You can see loading up. Boom. Back of the head shot. Oh, but he hit him, with the forearm to the back of the head. It's still a back of the head shot. There was clean ones in the mix. There were shots that, like, the forearm fully connects to the back of the head. There's other shots that the referee was kind of in the way. You can see shots to the back of the head there. And there's ones where the ref got in the way that you didn't see. There's a lot of back of the head shots that I'm seeing. These aren't on the ear, Michael Chandler. These are shots to the back of the head. And the fact that he stands on this is an absolute disgrace, man. For playing, the humble Christian guy role and character and trying to push out the positivity, he stands on absolute ludicrous delusion. Like, I'm ashamed to see it. And as somebody that at one point would have definitely considered themselves a big Michael Chandler fan, I absolutely despise the man that he's become. And he said this leading up to his fight against Charles Oliveira with Helwani. Oh, I would hate the man I became. The old me would hate me today. I think he probably would. I think Chandler was a lot more humble in Bellator, but coming over to the UFC, he's just become an asshole. He's an asshole that plays the nice guy, which makes him worse. I would rather him be a dickhead like Colby Covington. At least you know what you get with Colby. Listen, he says, he's all about humility. He says, I'm all about humility. Well, this next clip, he makes that claim, but I don't think it was a true statement. I don't know. Let's listen to this next clip. Listen.
This is where my humility comes in, where I'm like, hey, this is the sport and this is the way things are supposed to be. Like, I completely get. If it was a different fight, I think Keith Peterson finishes or steps in and pulls me off of him after he.
What? Humility, but if it's a different fight, the ref stops it. So let's just discredit Charles Oliveira. Let's just totally say, yes, different ref, it's over. If it's a different fight, it's over. If it's not the co-main event, it gets stopped. The referee should have stopped the fight, but I'm a guy, based on respect, and, I have a lot of humility. So, yeah, they should have stopped it. I should have beat Oliveira, but I didn't, What type of humility is that? Humility would be giving respect to Charles Oliveira for beating you. But that's just not what you get with Michael Chandler. He talks as if he's such a nice guy, but he's just not, man. He literally is standing on that if it was a different ref, they would have stopped the fight. If it was a different fight, if he wasn't fighting at Madison Square Garden in the co-main event, it would have been over with. I don't know how he says this with a straight face, and I don't understand how a portion of the fan base is so pro Chandler. Like, he's such a great guy. I swear it's the fans that don't really listen to the full interviews, right? They just listen to small clips, or they just listen to UFC promos. When you really sit down and listen to everything Chandler says, he discredits Charles Oliveira as a fighter. I think he's discredited him as a man. And I think he's just acting as if the audience is stupid. Like, us fans are just dumb because we don't see back of the head shots. We believe you that, yeah, the fight should have been stopped. It 1,000% shouldn't have been stopped, Michael Chandler, because Charles Oliveira won the rest of the round after you had him hurt. Yes, you hurt him with a clean shot, but all of the ground and pound strikes were to the back of the head. And a ref that was quality would have stepped in and potentially deducted a point or at least called for a timeout. But that's not what Keith Peterson does. But shit, Michael Chandler, he's a big Keith Peterson fan. I can see why. He lets him, land shots to the back of the head. Could you imagine a world where Keith Peterson stops that fight and we get a TKO after Oliveira wins the majority of the fight? And I'm not even mentioning how many dirty tactics Chandler pulled throughout the fight. He was putting his fingers in the gloves. He was grabbing the cage on multiple occasions. And I'm talking about the back of the head strikes in round 5. Michael Chandler in round 1 landed a dozen back of the head shots from the bottom, but they weren't significant because he was under Oliveira, but he's literally punching him in the back of the head. I don't want to see a Pritchard Colon situation in MMA. I'm very sorry about what's happened to Pritchard Colon. It makes me sad. But the reason that I get so passionate on the issues of strikes to the back of the head, because Pritchard Colon, if you don't know who he is, look him up. He was a promising up-and-coming boxer who got ripped with shots to the back of the head where the referee did not call them and intervene. And the dude is literally a handicapped individual now. He can't speak. He can't walk. He's lost all his mobility. Shots to the back of the head are potentially fatal and definitely life-changing. And a referee who's calling a massive fight like Keith Peterson is, not stepping in is something that I think should be scolded. Keith Peterson is also getting onslaughted in this video. I have him in my sights as well because Keith Peterson should be punished. Keith Peterson, I don't think should be reffing big fights. I don't think he should be a UFC ref anymore. Because these shots to the back of the head were bad. Luckily, Charles Oliveira didn't take any serious damage from them and came back and won the round. But could you imagine if Charles Oliveira was hospitalized right now from those shots? So we got to wait until somebody gets seriously injured from strikes to the back of the head to punish these fucking referees? It's a damn disgrace. Let's keep listening. I'm getting heated.
And that's where the referee did not, I guess you would say, like, follow the rules. It's like if he saw a tap, he should, but he knows what's happening.
Okay, so what he's referring to here is at the end of the fight, you know, jump into his back and slamming Oliveira down, and then Chandler, like, you know, tapping him and being like, yeah, that was good shit with the fight, you know, whatever, and hyping each other up. The referee would know, like, don't give Keith Peterson any credit. Not around me. Keith Peterson is the worst referee in the UFC right now. He makes Steve Mazzagatti look like a gem. We should call Mazzagatti back and replace him. Give me Mario Yamasaki back at this point. Because these shots to the back of the head really irritate me. We need to get behind it, man. This shouldn't stand, bro. Fire Keith Peterson is going to be a hashtag that we should see in the MMA community, whether it's MMA Twitter, MMA YouTube, that needs to be pushed. You know, we are dealing with Michael Chandler just, you know, absolutely being reckless out there and throwing strikes to the back of the head. Playing the nice guy. I'm not saying they were deliberate shots to the back of the head, but you can see that it's the back of the head, and Chandler's just letting chaos fly. Like, he doesn't give a fuck that he's hitting Charles Oliveira in the back of the head. He talks about he loves Charles. They respect each other so much. You respect him so much, but you're clobbering him with shots to the back of the skull, which you know is a dirty shot. Oh, the adrenaline's going, though. Chandler's got a ton of fights, man. He knows what an illegal shot is. Now, the good thing is, because of this, Chandler, in a sense, had his championship dreams crushed. And I think it's karma. I think it is karma. Because the way that he acts is completely fake. And I think that the MMA gods were on the people's side. Chandler was asked by, the crew here doing the podcast interview. It's called Bussin' with the Boys. What's next? Who's next? And he talks about his dream call-out if he would have won. Let's listen.
So what do you think's next?
Well,
There's only one.
What do you got? Oh,
the call out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had my whole speech lined out. You know, I was gonna win, do my job. I was gonna call.
He was gonna win and do his job. He was hoping for it, but thankfully he lost because he's a dirty fighter. Because he was disrespectful to Charles Oliveira. He hides his disrespect by a very calm tone and like being quote unquote nice, but it's disrespectful. He discredits elite fighters like Charles Oliveira. I mean, and standing on the back of the head shots thing. Oliveira said those shots were to the back of the head. He mentioned how many Chandler landed to the back of the head. Chandler didn't comment on that. He owes Charles Oliveira an apology, but I also think he should be apologizing to the damn fans for being fake. Let's keep listening.
All out Islam or Max for the BMF belt or Conor, obviously. But obviously I was 100% set up.
Obviously. Yeah, the Conor McGregor fight's probably next. Let's put two a-holes against each other. You know what I'm saying? They need to face off. I want to see that fight next. Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor should be made, but who the hell knows what Conor McGregor, if he's even going to fight again? I don't know. We're reaching. Chandler is adamant that he's getting McGregor next if McGregor's to come back and fight MMA. I doubt it, bro. You waited 2 years on the sidelines hoping for that fight, but now you're sure. After another loss, you're sure. You're sure. Come on, Michael Chandler. I hate to see it. The shots were dirty. It's a disgraceful post-fight. I don't know how Michael Chandler can sit there and say it with a straight face. I guess I know how he does because he plays the character. He always talks about his authenticity and whatnot. This doesn't seem authentic. Unless he's dumb. I think Michael Chandler is a fraud. I think Michael Chandler does a great job of playing the good guy role, but I actually think he's a villain in disguise. Those shots to the back of the head are a disgrace. He's cheated in other fights. Bro, he fish hooked like that Dustin Poirier in their fight. Poirier stands on business. He hates Michael Chandler, and he should, because Michael Chandler's a cheater. And Michael Chandler is like, oh, why doesn't Poirier like, I hope we can bury the hatchet and be friends. But Poirier's like, no, I'm not playing that bullshit with you. I know you're fake as fuck. I like that Poirier stands on business. And that's why after the fight, Poirier still had beef with him. He didn't just let it go. Because Michael Chandler cheated in that fight. He cheated in this fight. He tends to cheat in a lot of fights. He's going to try and do anything to win, which you can say, oh, he's a gritty competitor. He's a cheater, man. He's a cheater. Now, he talks a little more about the McGregor match, and that's a good way to, finish out the podcast here. We're going to pull this next clip up where he says, Conor McGregor, you're coming back. You're going through me. Pipe dream. Let's listen in.
Back to the UFC. We have to finish the Ultimate Fighter. The UFC wants to finish the Ultimate Fighter. Conor wants to fight me. He can fight.
Conor wants to fight him? I don't know about that. I'm not so sure that Conor wants to fight him. I don't think Conor particularly cares about Michael Chandler. I think he views Chandler as a maybe fight that's kind of winnable because he's a flawed fighter defensively. But I don't think he needs Michael Chandler. I don't think the UFC definitely wants to do it. They don't have to finish the Ultimate Fighter. I think he's reaching at that. It's been years since McGregor has last fought. He's pushed Michael Chandler off for years. Yeah, he pulled out of their fight with a slight toe injury or whatnot. I'm sure the injury was legit. I think Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler is a fight that Chandler can win. He's got a wrestling edge. I could see him beating Conor McGregor. But damn, this interview here, I already had a little bit of disdain towards Michael Chandler from last week. And if you tuned into my video, you knew how I felt about Michael Chandler leading up to UFC 309. And he was mentioned a couple of times throughout the week, and I was flaming him about his cope and his hypocrisy. He just keeps on piling the bullshit on. Can we fucking take a second, Michael Chandler, and just be real? He can't. I don't think it's possible. Why can't he say Charles Oliveira is better than me and he beat me? Why in the whole goddamn lead up to the fight was he still pushing the Oliveira as a quitter narrative? And, I just didn't get to push him in the deep waters. Well, shut up there, Michael, because shit, you pushed him deep and he still beat you. So that narrative is shut down finally. But instead of just respectfully calling Oliveira the man, it's like, oh, well, the referee could have stopped the fight. If it was a different ref, they would have. If it was a different fighter that I was fighting against, they would have called it. I let him win the first round. I hurt my knee early. How many damn excuses can Michael Chandler put together? But now he's owed the McGregor fight. That's definitely going to happen next. I don't understand how Michael Chandler has this much delusion. I don't understand how his cope has reached a whole new level. The cope is at an all-time low. This is worse than I've ever seen before from Michael Chandler. The king of cope, it just keeps getting worse. And I'm looking forward to this being a consistent series when Michael Chandler's doing interviews or when he has fights leading up. I'm going to be watching all things Michael Chandler because I think there's going to be so many reactions where we can just dig into Michael Chandler's hypocrisy. Crazy to me. Don't get fooled by the fake nice guy act. I did early on. If you would have asked me 2 years ago what I thought about Michael Chandler, I'd say he's a gem of a guy. Real nice man. Good dude, good competitor, respectful. But Dustin Poirier realized it early on that he's full of shit. And that's why after the fight, he was like, nah, the beef is still on. You're a cheater. He fish hooked him. I guess after that fight, I was a little bit on Michael Chandler. But it's like it kind of got brushed under the rug. But now, after spending a lot of time listening to Michael Chandler interviews, it's just unreal that he can stand there with a straight face and say these things. And he can discredit Charles Oliveira for beating his ass. And he can come up with all these excuses why it didn't go his way. I will tell you, he would have won me over if he would have stood on this interview and said, Michael Chandler would have said this: Charles Oliveira is better than me. He's beaten me twice. He's the guy. He won the fight. 5th round, I had my moment, but dude, Oliveira is so tough. He doesn't really praise Oliveira. He doesn't. Like, he just talks about how the fight should have been stopped and how he let him win the first round. He hurt his knee. Won't admit that Charles Oliveira is better than him after he beat him in a 5-round fight. That's an absolute. It's final. Charles Oliveira is superior to Michael Chandler. Just admit it, bro. It's all right. You get more respect from us fans, me especially, if you just admit your defeat. And finally, show some humility, Michael Chandler. Not just say that you show humility with this scam artist vibe that he puts out. I'm telling you, he's going to be a scam artist motivational speaker following fighting. That's today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun recording this. It does frustrate me, though. Like, I don't know. I start getting heated when I listen to Michael Chandler and he's just discrediting Charles Oliveira, one of the most badass fighters in the world, one of the most beloved fighters in the world. And, you know, he's so pro Oliveira at the press conference when everybody's watching. But as soon as he does interviews, independent ones that aren't UFC promos, right, that the UFC just isn't a part of it, the true Michael Chandler comes out. And he's a fraud. He's a fake nice guy. He's a pathological liar. He's the king of cope for sure. And his excuses are pathetic. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Smash the like button. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. Welcome. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Do you think that Michael Chandler is the king of cope? Do you think he's a pathological liar? Do you think he's Mr. Hypocrisy himself? Or are you pro Michael Chandler? Are you picking yourself up from your bootstraps and taking it all the way to the top with Michael Chandler as he comes out with his motivational plan for you? It's only going to be $500 a month to be a member, but man, it's going to change your life. Good luck if you're doing it. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.